Hi, Tom Cole, the coach for Buckeye Cable and BCSN, and welcome into another edition of Sports Flash. And certainly I'm excited about this particular interview. Great friend, Chris Hardman. Chris, welcome. I know the humble guy, but a legendary coach in our area, football, basketball, baseball. You've done it all. You were a great player in college. And the one I love when I give the Chris Hardman interview or the promo out front is you and your dad are the only father-son duo in the Ohio Baseball Hall of Fame, and I think that's got to be close to your heart. That's a pretty cool thing.
Well, I'm very proud of that. I had a tremendous mentor, and my dad said I was always smarter than him, but that's because I had a great teacher.
I love that. I love that, Chris. And Matt Yeager, thank you for being with us today. 6 years as a soccer coach and 20 years with a group that I'm very familiar with and the incredible work they do, Athletes in Action. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for the high school help and the work with Athletes in Action. But guys, we're here to talk about a clinic. It's called the Three-Dimensional Clinic. And three-dimensional, Chris, when I hear three-dimensional, I'm thinking it's going to be technology-oriented. Is that not the case? Fill me in on what three-dimensional, because you've gone through two of these. So you don't impress easily. And when you called me up about this and you said, we've got to do an interview about this to let people know how valuable this can be to you. When you say that, that gets my attention. So tell me why the coaches out there should be heads up on this three-dimensional.
Okay. I'm happy to do that. Thanks for having us. In my 40 or so years of teaching and coaching, this was the most impactful of all the clinics that I've been to down through the years. Just very quickly, the state of Ohio asked us as coaches to know about concussions,
yes,
to know first aid, to know techniques of coaching, and all of that is great. And now we're doing CPR, phenomenal stuff,
yes,
and things that we need to do. But this clinic is about kids, and it's about reaching kids. And the three-dimension, and I don't want to steal Matt's thunder, but it's really with level one's fundamentals,
yes,
but 2 and 3 are about how to reach an athlete's heart. Those of us that coach, we coach because we want to impact athletes, and this clinic is tremendous instruction on how you can do that. And ultimately, when you walk away from coaching, you want to have established relationships with kids who then become young men and young women. And this is the greatest program that I've been introduced to about how to really reach the heart of the matter, and that's kids where it makes a difference. It isn't about X's and O's.
Chris, that really caught my attention. First of all, the Don Henley reference, I like that, the heart of the matter. I'm an Eagles man, so that's pretty good. But, for a guy who's been as incredibly successful as you've been as a coach, and just as an observer watching your great career, I would say you're a guy that always did that, caught the hearts of the kids. And for that to get your attention, then that tells me that there are some things here. So give me one or two things that Chris Hardman pulled out of this that you said, wow, I would use in a minute. Give me a couple of nuggets of that.
Well, I would tell you the first thing that happened after going to the clinic, I came back and immediately began to interject some of these principles into my coaching, and the kids knew immediately that there was something different.
Okay.
And I was impressed by the fact that at this point in my career they thought I was doing something different.
Right.
But you always want to learn. But what I would tell you is that it's about relationships. It's about certainly holding kids accountable, but it's so much more than winning and losing. And ultimately, what I walked away with and what I wanted to take to young people was I wanted to get to know their heart. I wanted them to know my heart.
Who you really were. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if along the way that helped them hit the baseball better, kick the football, or whatever it may be, great. But ultimately, it was about locking in with these young people and helping them be the best that they could be. And I found just the principles of the three-dimensional coaching opened up a whole new way of thinking about how to reach young people.
Well said, Coach. Matt, your take on this, to be able to reach kids. Chris said something, a number of things, a number of salient points, but one that really struck me Was fortunate to be in a program at St. John's where we got to win a lot of championships and play in shoe bowls and go to state play. They had a basement full of plaques. They give you plaques for going. I had nothing to do with it. I just happened to be in that. You know how that goes, Chris. We had talented people and great coaches. And oh, by the way, I get to hand out towels and go along for the ride. But when I think about what Chris just said, I don't really remember any of the scores of the games or anything that happened in the games. But what I do remember are the relationships that you have with the kids, with the coaches, and the lessons that I personally learned. So, Matt, is it a little bit in this direction?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And Tom, I played athletics through college. I coached my kids. I coached at high school level. I've worked at the University of Toledo with coaches and athletes for the last 13 years. And now with Fellowship of Christian Athletes, I'm working with high schools and junior highs and youth, and we're just seeing that there's just a big need. As Chris mentioned, the state of Ohio requires you to go through a whole lot of training, which is really important. But the thing that we're missing is how we interact with the kids. And so Dr. Jeff Duke, he developed this whole program. He was an assistant coach with Bobby Bowden. Obviously one of the best coaches.
You know what, man? Yep. I interviewed Bobby Bowden not that long ago, and I want to tell you what, I've never had this happen to me, and never met him before. We just came up to it, and that can be awkward. He said, well, we got to do this interview. A gentleman beyond belief, but in talking to Coach Bowden in 60 seconds, I felt like I was his best friend. He made you feel so comfortable. It's an amazing skill, warm, generous guy. Incredible guy, really.
Yeah, so Jeff, after coaching with him for a number of years, decided to go on and get his doctorate in coaching.
Yes.
And so after he did this, he did a whole lot of research. And this clinic actually comes out of all that research.
Okay.
And so he developed what he called the three-dimensional coaching model. First dimension, which Chris talked about, is the fundamentals. Every coach does that. It's your X's and O's,
sure.
It's your training, your development, all those kinds of things. Every coach does that, or should do that. If they're not, there's trouble.
Yeah.
Now we get to the second dimension. That's the psychology of the sport. That's how we use the psychology to develop and inspire and motivate kids. But then there's a third dimension. That's actually coaching the heart. How do I get into that kid's heart and really help make a difference in their lives? And here's what he found out from the research. Only 15% of the coaches got into the second dimension, and only 5% got into the third dimension.
So as a coach, Matt and Chris, if you understand the principles of the three-dimensional coach and you can do it, you're going to be successful beyond imagination. That's to get to the kids. What's the saying that kids don't care what you know until they know that you care? And people say, well, that's cliche. Well, it's cliche because it's true.
Right.
I've coached for a lifetime. I know when they know that you do care about them, then the X and O part. They'll do anything that you ask them to do, and they said, coach really cares. And Matt, is part of this. So often today, young kids come from families. Maybe there's only mom at home, or maybe there's only dad at home, or maybe it's a transient situation where they move from school to school. I know one school district in our area that I had a superintendent tell me, unbelievable stat, a huge school district, 48% of their kids are transient. They come in and out because of jobs. One parent, you got to have the job, you got to be able to put food on the table. He said it's that transient. So the coach definitely becomes a surrogate parent to many of these kids. And if you get to that third level, then you're going to help that youngster for a lifetime. Is that basically what we're looking at?
Absolutely. You're right on track with that, because you look at, and I can tell you different situations, but I can remember one in particular where out just west of here in the Wasion area, our staff guy was working with the school out there, and this is a sad story, but there was a student that committed suicide.
Right.
And that student left 2 notes, and one of them was to his coach.
Right.
And so you understand that the power of the coach is so influential in the kids. And so many of our coaches are just not equipped because coaches aren't trained. There's not a school to be a coach, so you coach the way you've been coached. And so until you learn to do things differently,
some guys have to break the cycle, or some
gals have to,
Yep. And that's funny. Time Magazine ran a spread not that long ago where they asked adults 35 to 65, besides their influence of their parents, who really has been the influence in their lives, excluding mom and dad. And 92% of the respondents said, you know the answer to this: a coach. The power that a coach has over a youngster is incredible. And let's get, guys, this is going to be a great clinic, an incredible opportunity. How about the wheres and times? And
I'll say this, and then I'll let Matt do that. If you are working with kids, we invite you to attend. It's very cost effective.
Okay.
If you are part of a staff, if you are an athletic director, we have tried to get the message out. Your staff needs to be there. This is the best thing that you can do for your kids. Will it translate to win and losses? Maybe. Maybe. That's not really what this is all about. You can give the detail.
You know, there's 8 modules in here, and so we're going to be doing 2 modules twice a year. So it's going to take 2 years to get through this whole program.
Okay.
And so this is we're going to be doing the first one is going to be November 1st. It's going to be at St. Ursula Academy from 4 to 7. It's a Sunday afternoon. We try to pick a time which best fit coaches to try to get them there.
Is there do coaches just show up? Is there
go to
register online?
Go to our website, nwOhioFCA.org.
Okay.
So nwOhioFCA.org, and just go to the coaches section. It's $15 per coach or $100 per school. So school can, for $100, can send as many coaches as they want.
Okay.
So we've tried to make this thing cost effective to really try to make a difference so we could get coaches there. And like last year, we did this last November, the first one here in Northwest Ohio. We had coaches from UT and from Owens, and we had from Lourdes. We also had high schools. We had youth coaches. And across the board on the evaluations were 9s and 10s.
Wow.
Whether it be a youth coach or a college coach.
Matt, one more time. So the first module of this 3-dimensional coaching clinic, and I think Chris gave a pretty good sell there that you know his credibility in the coaching community here in Toledo is at the top of the top, and he's saying you need to be there. So when St. Ursula again?
St. Ursula, Sunday, November 1st from 4 to 7 p.m.
Okay, very good. Guys, on behalf of Buckeye Cable and BCSN, thanks for caring about the kids and wanting to make a difference in their lives by improving the great coaches that we already have. You guys know you can always get better at what you do, and it's great to show that growth and development on people that are legendary coaches. Think they can learn something. That should tell the rest of us schmoes that we've got a lot to learn. So thank you so much, guys.
Thanks.
Okay. Tom Coley, coach for Buckeye Cable and BCSN.